So Mojang just dropped the full release of 1.21, adding in a new mob, a sick new weapon, and whatever the heck this place is. I'm here to explore all that this new version has to offer and continue a few traditions from past versions. It's fine, don't worry about that. Anyway, this is the story of how I survived the new 1.21 update and built this epic copper base in hardcore Minecraft. And it all starts on day 1. Alright, so I've never seen this version of the game before and I'm excited to check it out. First things first, chop a tree, mine some stone from a nearby cave, and get the basic 3 tools. With that done, I can tell you some goals I have for this video. 1. Conquer the new trial chambers. Those things look pretty cool and I have no idea what's inside them. 2. We're getting the new armor trims added to the game and like a bunch of new blocks, but that's a given. And 3. I want to try and kill the Ender Dragon in a singular hit with the mace item. That one might be the hardest, but it should be fun. Back to the real gameplay, I smelted up some food and continued looking for a place to base at. It needs to be something epic for this video, not a jungle. Yuck. But this place did give me some melons to grow later if I remember to. But at nighttime, we're on the hunt for some easy iron. Thankfully, there happened to be a nice mountaintop full of iron and some mobs. I fought for my life just to get the iron, then smelt the iron and barely survived the process of crafting my shield. It was a pretty tough night, narrowly escaping with my life. But now I'm back on the hunt for a spot to live, and it's daytime, so it's gonna be a lot easier. Other than killing some cows, it was no hope, until I dropped in an ocean following a large cliffside. I was close to settling on an island to my right, but pressing on for good measure, turns out that was the right call, as I strolled up upon what happened to be the prettiest mountain I'd ever seen in Minecraft. Just look at this thing. It's clear I had to build here. However, there is a prerequisite to building near this place, and that is a village. If I don't have one of those, then I can't reach many of my goals in the time that I have. Thus, I began to check around. Turns out we're really close to an old growth taiga, which is great because I'm the Spruce King and I shall reign once again. Alongside that, after night fell, I checked around the mountain and got really lucky finding a spruce village on the backside. It was the perfect solution to all our problems. Making it into the village, I of course stole from them for fun. I need to assert dominance, letting them know they can't have anything nice when I'm around. Anyway, back to my side of the mountain range. Sure, this is the perfect location, but where do I actually place my build at? A little bit of searching and I stumbled upon this area, so I cut down some trees to clear out some space. And that's when I could really tell we're gonna build right here. Maybe not like a massive house, but at least a decent sized one that'll look great on this mountainside. I put down my bed, furnace, crafting table, chest, and smoker, setting up our makeshift base for the day. But I'm not getting anywhere with stone tools, so it's time we go caving. With minimal armor, I found a surface cave to go mine down in. There was not really much here unless you want copper, so I mined straight down, probably a very bad idea for Minecraft. However, that's when I naturally ran into a trial chamber for no frickin' reason. Is this a trial chamber? No shot, right? Well, first off, I found my copper. Second off, how? And no, I didn't set this up. I just randomly mined directly into these tough bricks, which, yeah, that's the trial chamber. However, I'm not geared for this, so I continued downward. Once at a good Y level, I strip mined for like 5 blocks until I found a small cave with an instant vein of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 freaking diamonds. I mean, yeah, I've had like an 18 vein before, but they're rare to be higher than 8. I can already tell my luck for this video is going to be great. Furthermore, I kept strip mining, but I wasn't able to find a cave naturally, so I used the view bobbing F5 glitch to get a cave. However, the cave that I saw was pretty small, but it led to the largest diamond spree I've had in history. Yep, slowly following the caves, I would find diamond vein after diamond vein. And that is so much more than an understatement that after the day is up, you need to see how many I actually had. By the end of our 3-day spree, I had surfaced with over 124 diamonds. Yeah, that took me less than an hour, roughly 2 diamonds a minute. Sure, it's not enough for a diamond beacon, but we're 6 days in, give me time. Back at base, since I have so many extra diamonds, I just flat out made a diamond set of armor, an enchant table, and a full set of diamond tools. There's no point in not. I then enchanted all of my items with the basic enchants, making it seem like I'm actually playing a UHC right now. Along with that, I think it's time I'll rock a bow for this video. I normally don't make one, but I figured I should. Thus, I had to go mine up some gravel to make arrows. After that, I went back and mined more coal for all of the ores that I had just finished getting. And while that furnace is going, I made a diamond shovel and basic enchanted it so I can get some dirt for the platform of my house. Now, taking dirt from the land isn't something I really like to do because it can make it look really bad, so I am very meticulous on how I gather dirt so that the natural generation of Minecraft doesn't change very much. I thought that I had collected enough dirt. However, after placing all of it down, I realized I was nowhere near close. This is a much bigger project than I had in mind. Thus, day 8 is just going to be pretty boring as I'm gathering more dirt so it doesn't mess with the landscape and then placing it down to make this hill pretty flat. I can never tell if I want an even or an uneven foundation, but this time I went with even. But before we decide on the house, I figure we have some time and the tools. Why not take on a trial chamber? Yeah, that's right, we're 10 days in and I'm already going to accomplish one of my goals. I headed over and checked what the inside was like. It looked pretty cool. There were lots of new blocks all around, and it's really nice that tough has a variation now. But the one thing that still confuses me is how these spawner things work. When I got close, it just popped out some strays. And by some, I mean like a dozen of them, who would just constantly spawn and then fire at me. However, since they're just basic skeletons, I was able to beat them and get a trial key. Not that I know what this thing does, so I looted on. There were pots along the walls that when you broke it, actually dropped loot for once. I don't know if that's been in Minecraft since these pots came out, but it's pretty cool. Looking around a bit more, I saw a 3-headed spawner thing. It was located at the top, and I don't even know how to get up there. I mean, I could build, sure, but if I go up there and it just starts spawning in like, I don't know, a warden based on its face, I could just die. So instead, I stuck to the spawners that actually looked like something. This one was a horde of zombies. I fought it off fairly easily, and then the spawner thing popped out some bread. I didn't realize the loot could be that bad, but I kept going. On top, I fought even more strays, which dropped bread for some reason. But I figure it's possible with this current key that I have that I can open up that 3-headed spawner thing. So I built up and tried, but it did not accept. Further into the structure, I found a room with a tree and then a completely empty space. I don't know why we're designing this place to have empty rooms, but you guys could have done better, Mojang. However, I did find a trial chest to open. Inside, I got some decent loot, but the best by far was a potion of bad omen. I didn't really know it could be a potion now, so I guess we're just done with pillager outposts being useful. But I'll save it for later when I need a totem. At one point while I was looting the chamber, I also got the new armor trim, which is almost another one of my goals already done. Further on, I found a slime spawner that was not an easy kill. When it comes to slimes, you normally don't run into a whole lot of them, but this spawner said no, millions. Every single time I would kill one, another 4 would pop up from its body, and it would just keep getting worse and worse in here. Thankfully, I did not have to kill all the mini guys before stealing the loot. I used another key to get some iron, golden apples, and 2 diamonds, which is nice, but I've got a lot more than that. That's when I found the breeze room, the new mob. This thing was like a blaze if it didn't want to be near you, so whenever it spawned in, it would just throw air at me and then jump over my head. It was pretty annoying, but it has basically no health, so if you can crit it, it's dead. But that's when what I'll call the Great War of Strays happened. Upon me entering a new room, there were like 5 trials started at once. It was not a proximity thing. Every single trial spawner on this level just decided to, hey, you're gonna die. But I did spend my time fighting it all off and getting a ton of loot. In that fight, I ended up getting a mending book, which is pretty nice. But even after exiting the entire trial chamber, I still had no idea how to get the 3-headed key. Nothing seemed to drop it, so I guess I'll have to Google it later. And to end out my day, I decided to do 2 things. Test out the wind charges, which clearly if you're looking at the footage, I'm not very good at, and listen to the new music disc. Okay, it's actually not too bad. Day 11, I started by making a sugarcane farm. Now, I'm thinking about making the house, and I need a couple of different blocks for it, one of them being cobblestone. Thus, I began mining some of that out. And then the next block up was granite, which I was able to get a lot of. And to end out my day, I finished by grabbing diorite. Yet that's only about 3 of the types of blocks I want to use for my base. So I had to return to the trial chamber. The first thing that I wanted was tough, and this has a lot of it, so easy access. And then of course the second block I'm going to be using is copper. We're going to use every type of copper block ever in all of the builds that we do in this video. Of course, this place is probably going to miss some of the copper because it looks a little weird without it, but trust me, I'll put it to good use. Day 13, I start with the outlining of the house. There are going to be 2 different sections that we build up and then connect in the middle. The first area was out of tough blocks and the second out of stone. However, after seeing how big it was going to be, I decided to shorten it by 2 blocks on each side. Once I resized it to the 7 long and wide, I built it up in cobblestone and tuff like I said before. I didn't really know what I wanted to do on the next level though, so I grabbed plain copper and granite because they're similar blocks and should work across one another. I built up copper on the tuff side and granite on the stone. And for our final blocks, to make it 3 layers tall, I put green copper on the granite side and diorite on the regular copper side. I'm sure all of that makes sense to you, but yes, we're looking at 2 really random looking pillars. And that's not okay with me. I'm looking back at it and I realized there's one more block that we need, deep slate. Thus, I went back to the mines to grab some deep slate. In that process, my eyes turned to mush because of how dark it was. Back up on the surface, I used deep slate, copper, diorite, and every other block to make stairs and slabs as well as decor blocks in our stone cutter. Then I test out my idea of making a trim around each layer, like a small roof sort of thing. I make one out of diorite and the other one out of copper, but it looks a little off. I continued with it on day 15, adding a tough design of the exact same roof one more up, and I thought to myself, what a wonderful no, I'm kidding. I mean, it all sucks. I broke it completely. It was bad. It was a really bad idea, all right? So instead, what we're gonna be doing is creating different roof outlines for every single layer. The totally new one for diorite is me wrapping some columns up from the sides with a semi-flat looking roof. It looks a little bit better, and it makes the diorite pop a bit, but I should have came up with it before. Then I spent my time making a really weird blue copper tower. Since we're living in an industrial age with this video, I figured, I don't know, maybe I'm just pumping straight gas into my house. But then I remembered that this now has copper trapdoors, and of course I'm going to be using a lot of them for the video, and I didn't really know how to make them, but I guess I need actual copper. So I went back to the mines, grabbed some, and smelted it up just so I could make these, when in reality I could have just turned the copper blocks that I had already mined back into copper ingots. I'm kind of an idiot. Back to building on the actual house, I made both deep slate roofs. And what that means is I did a ring of deep slate slanted on either side, and in the middle did the opposing copper. Meaning that on the side that had the regular copper, I put the blue copper, and on the side that had the blue copper for a wall, I put regular copper. And then I made a really weird wall, stair, slab, tough design on one of the buildings, but I think it looks pretty good. Again, we're just trying to separate each layer so it doesn't look really bad. Then I added in some makeshift windows into every layer, and when you sit and stare at them, you'll realize that these aren't no normal windows. They break the physics of Minecraft. That may look like a full block, but those are 4 stairs. And finally, my copper had smelted, so I was able to wrap trapdoors around the pipes from that weird structure from before. We're almost done with the house. One of the last things I had to do was the stone trim on the 2nd floor of the 2nd tower. That is a lot of seconds, and honestly, I don't even know where I'm placing it, but stone trim. Then I decided to make the walkway in between the copper and granite area. Basically, I connected a tunnel in the middle made out of both copper and granite that I can use to walk through. That way, each level is accessible on my house. I also decorated the outside of it to make it look more like a tube. Stepping back, it looks alright, a little bit funny, but it works. Then I doubled down on the deep slate layers of the roof, and it looked even better. The 1 slab thing I had going was not good enough. Day 18, I'm rocking with the interior. First, I had to set in all of the floors for each level, which was pretty easy and bland. Then I set up some staircases on either sides of the 1st floor, and decided to get to the 3rd floor, we're just gonna use ladders. It's gonna be real fun getting to the 2nd tower's bottom and 3rd floor because we're only gonna have 1 entrance. But anyway, I then decided to take all of my possessions from outside and put them in. I'll sort it all in a minute, but for now I just need it inside. After that, I spent the rest of the night finishing out the floors on either side so it wasn't dirt anymore. I think this tough design looks pretty good, but the copper design I used on the other side could have been thought out more. Days 19 through 20 started off with me making some lanterns and lighting up the outside of our build. I don't really want any mobs spawning out here, but I don't want to use torches anymore. Then I made those ladders I talked about to lead up to the 3rd floor, because ain't anyone got time for stairs. And finally was figuring out what each room was gonna be. The entry room where we had our door is gonna be a kitchen, where I put all of my furnaces, smokers, etc. The entire 2nd story of this build, where we have our long pipe, is going to be storage, housing a bunch of different chests in a design that makes it look cool. And then when it comes to the least accessible rooms, the bottom one on the 2nd floor is just gonna be my bedroom, where in all honesty, it looked like a toddler designed it because I just kind of put down my bed. Currently, the attic is a mystery. I do not know what to do with this place. So for now, what I decided to do was just chuck our enchanter up top and figured I'll make that area later. One thing I did forget to do though was add some outside decor, so I grabbed my shears and headed out to grab some leaves. But before I used them, a cow caught my attention. Sure enough, I'll be needing a lot more of these if I'm to finish the enchant setup. Thus came the grueling process of taking cows all the way back to my base. Yeah, I know I'm holding wheat, but don't look at me like that. That's when the issue kind of arose. I don't actually have a pen for them to live in, so I kind of just walked them inside my house. I don't know what I'm doing anymore. I'm living with farm animals now. Y'all better share the bed. Hoping to make this living situation temporary, I made some copper trap doors and grabbed this weird like gate type block. I don't really know what this is, but you can kind of see through it, so I figured fencing. I went over to the other side of the house, plopped it all down in a manner of which doesn't look good, and figured the cows would love it. I went back inside, grabbed them out of my house, and ran them over to the new place. Also, this cow was like sitting on a ladder and he was giving me a hard time, so I whacked him. Normally I agree with Chick-fil-A. I love chicken, but this cow was looking good. Day 22 was so incredibly exciting. You will not believe what I did. I made a really small wheat farm for the cows because I don't have any. I mean, yeah, it's kind of just like a decoration area and it's a little bit useful, but it's just there now. Then I spent the rest of my day running around the plains, burning some sheep and chicken for food. No, seriously, imagine being a chicken, strolling out, having a good look at the sun, and then a guy with just a match lights you on fire and eats you on your grave. Other than that, it was pretty fun. The next couple of days were a little bit more interesting. I am craving some XP, so I decided to go into the caves and look for it. Since I don't have a ton of Fletchers or access to an Enderman farm or even a simple mob farm, I'm just gonna go for Skulk. Lucky me, we are in the frozen like peaks or whatever biome this is, thus it's directly below us. I was able to spend my time getting up to level 46, as well as clear 9 extra diamonds, which I don't need, but of course you're gonna grab them when you're in the mines. Anyway, the reason that I want this stuff is so that I can eventually enchant my tools and armor, so I don't have to deal with villagers too much. But I am still gonna need mending, which I can't enchant for, and I need emeralds for that, so I went back up to the surface and headed over to the trees. Yes, the Spruce Kingdom awaits me. I harvested up some wood because on day 25, we're gonna be at the village. I almost wouldn't have been if I didn't survive this jump on half a heart. This is why you shouldn't go for water buckets, people. It's really bad for you, and it scares you, and it gives you a heart attack, and then you want to quit the world. All right, anyway, it's looking like a good day today, because after I made it to the village, I went to a librarian villager and started rolling because I want mending. But not only do I want mending, I'm re-rolling right now because I want mending alongside bookshelves. Yeah, sure, I got those cows, but they're not worth anything to me. I would much rather get a bookshelf trade and just get a full enchant table right away. But it was taking a little longer than I wanted to get mending, so I ended up caving for Unbreaking 3. Hold on, re-roll the clip. What the heck is the breach enchantment? I know I'm like not new to this game, but surely this has to do with the mace or something, right? Because I've never seen that before. Anyway, back to the regular old footage. I got Unbreaking 3 for 18 emeralds and I had to take it because it also had bookshelves. But I still need a lot more emeralds, so I made even more Fletchers but was out of wood, so I had to go all the way back to a nearby forest and chop trees. Not that I'm disappointed by this work product because I love looking at spruce. Anyway, deforestation aside, we're back at base and I used the books that I bought from the villager to make a full enchant table setup. Alongside that, I also made a fresh set of diamond armor for enchants. I don't like to use any old diamond armor, alright? I want a fresh new set. On the boots and pants, they were pretty good enchants. I got Prof 4 and Unbreaking 3. Then I decided to go with my axe and pickaxe, getting Efficiency 4 Unbreaking 3 on the pick and Efficiency 4 Unbreaking 3 Fortune 2 on the axe. After that, I also got a Silk Touch pick, which, you know what, isn't bad, but I would much prefer Fortune. And to end out the levels that I had, I got a Prompt 3 Unbreaking 3 chestplate. I'm getting really close to maxing out a set of armor just on enchants alone, which is something I don't normally do. Anyway, if you noticed, I didn't get any helmet enchants, so I had to go back down to the caves and farm up even more Skulk. I carefully avoided the danger of Wardens and got up to 44 levels. Once I left, all of the enchants were pretty trash, so I had to re-roll, all until I got plain Prop 4 on my helmet, which wasn't actually garbage, but could have been better. And to end out my time, I got Protection 3 plain on a chestplate, so I just just combined it with my other one to make P4. And since we've been doing a lot with enchants, I figure, you know what, let's just relax for day 28, okay? What are we gonna go do? We're gonna go ruin the environment. Of course, what else do I do in this game? We're gonna go chop some trees and we're gonna sell them for emeralds that are most likely harvested from the ground anyway. I'll just destroy the planet on a regular basis. Wait, am I actually allowed to say that? No, you know, no, I'm legally a lumberjack, okay? So it's not deforestation, it's a job. Anyway, shocker, what did I use that wood for? More emeralds with the Fletchers. I got stacks of emeralds for cheap because I'm literally just handing them sticks I found on the ground. Anyway, I used that to get another Unbreaking book and 2 Depth Strider books. I got really lucky that this villager had a second book trade and that the second book trade was Depth Strider 2 because I normally wasn't gonna enchant my boots again and get Depth Strider naturally. However, this isn't like an ocean only world or anything, so I don't really need it. I'm still gonna use it. I put it on my boots, making them Prov 4, Unbreaking 3, Depth Strider 3, and I wanted to change my armor into the Bolt Armor trim. I haven't seen it yet, and since there are 2 brand new ones in the game, we had to check them out in this video. I duplicated the armor trim, which costed a lot, by the way. I can't believe the price of this. It's so ridiculous. Anyway, the color I want to use is white. When you're trying to match the blue with something, you don't want to go blue and red, okay? We're not Spider-Manning it right now. We just need a clean-cut color, and that's quartz. So I gotta go to the Nether. But first, I had to go find obsidian and mine it for what felt like an eternity. Anyway, my Nether spawn was amazing. I mean, look at all the basalt. We're still in the Nether though, so that means quartz isn't too far away. But when I got to it, I had a Soak Touch pickaxe, which technically I can still get it from. I just have to go back home and mine it again. I just forgot how much of an idiot I am. Anyway, back at base, I went ahead and mined it up and put it on our gear. This bolt armor trim actually looks so clean. I can't even believe, like, this is one of, if not like top 3 of the armor trims that have been released, and it just got released. Some of them look really weird. Some of them add like eyebrows to your helmet for no reason. So this one, it just had all of the looks of being a clean trim. 10 out of 10 would recommend. Back at the village, I traded for more emeralds and got to rerolling our second villager. Now, of course, we're looking for things like mending, feather falling, sharpness, but right now I had my goals on sharp 5. It's not an easy one to get, all right? We're passing up mending and everything just to get it, but eventually I got sharp 4, which is close enough for me. I used that to make my axe sharp 5, efficiency 4, unbreaking 3, fortune 2, and mending. If you guys can't tell by now, for some reason as a PvE player, I choose to make axes, and I think that just stems from the fact I'm addicted to spruce. However, the reason I did this is we're going back to the trial chamber. This time, I figured out that if I drink the Bad Omen potion, I get the trial chamber, like ominous trial, whatever it's called, I don't know. But that basically re-unlocks the chest, allows them to spawn more mobs, and I can get the ominous key, that 3-headed thing we haven't been able to have access to yet. However, I thought it would only work one time on one spawner, so I really wanted it on the breeze. But when I got down there, I accidentally activated the spawner before I popped it, making me think I had messed the whole process up. So after killing the breeze, I went to the zombie spawner, making sure to pop the Bad Omen beforehand, and the spawner turned blue. Everything that they were spawning in were a lot stronger, just getting like random diamond weapons and armor. I don't even know this was possible. Hopefully they dropped this stuff, right? Anyway, without this axe, I would 100% be dead because it feels like it's spawning a lot faster right now. However, it got so much worse when I realized that the Bad Omen activates every spawner. So whenever I go anywhere close to it, I was fighting like 1,000 strays or like 1,000 slimes at once. It was an entire mess. I had no idea what was going on. I thought like an arrow was being shot at me from the sky or some particles were following me around. I had no idea what was going on right now. But eventually, after so much chaos, I had gotten an ominous key. However, I was really close to getting another one, or what I hoped would be another one, but the spawner was not turning off. So instead I decided to head back to the breeze now that we have the Bad Omen, and that's where I finally found the skeleton. He was chilling in a completely different part of the structure. When I went back, I did get my second ominous key, but again, we're still after the breeze. Unfortunately, when I got there, the Bad Omen didn't actually make it stronger. It's just still in a really annoying mob that I don't really want to deal with. But the ominous keys are something I do want to deal with. I made it to an area and used my first one, getting wind charges, some emeralds, and a diamond axe. Okay, not bad. After that, I used another key to get the flow armor trim, which is pretty good, but we're still looking for the stuff for the mace. I think it's called the heavy core. Then I found that entire room of skeletons that took me so long to beat before, but this time I got a god apple from it. Not bad. After finishing killing all of the mobs and opening every single trial, or what are they called? Like the ominous crates. I don't know. After opening all of those, I really wanted to do some more stuff with the trial, but my bad omen doesn't last for too much longer. And since I have no idea how to actually find another trial chamber because I got so lucky before, I just thought it would be possible to find them in surface caves. So I went around the map looking in surface caves that might have a chance of leading me to a new chamber. It was not working out. I mean, clearly it's not going to work out. You're just walking around looking at surface caves to hopefully find a trial chamber. That's just not how it's done. That was kind of all until I found this really weird cave with a tree out front. I went in expecting it to end pretty quickly, but it just kept going down and down further, like leading me to a lush cave as well as a mine shaft at one point. I just started sprinting, hoping I would see any sign of this trial chamber. Lo and behold, I had finally made it and spotted it out of the corner of my eye. There they were, the tough brick blocks. I mined straight in, and of course, it was the skeleton fight. Yup, the room I feared the most happened to be the one I just mined into. About 1,000 skeletons targeted me while I slowly crit them out, taking time away from my bad omen that I just wanted to quickly use, but I did get an ominous key that I used, still not getting a heavy core though. I continued through the chamber to get more keys, which I often use to open more spawner chests and whatever. I got like more god apples, wind charges, iron, emeralds, pretty much everything that you could ever wish for except for the heavy core. I ended up completing this trial chamber too and opening all of the ominous stuff, and I left with 3 more ominous keys, but I still didn't leave with a mace. The craziest part is this heavy core isn't even the rarest thing that you can get. It's like the second rarest, and after however many of these, like 20 I've opened, I've still haven't gotten it yet. Thus, I took my loss and went back to the village. I re-rolled a man for feather falling at the cost of 21 emeralds, but that wasn't what I was looking for. In fact, I needed mending. But when night came, I figured it'd be best to sleep. I walked outside to see the iron golem being useless, letting all of the villagers die. Are you kidding me, bro? You're right there. You could have easily saved these guys. You're dying for this. You're dead. Day 36, I continued to re-roll for mending, which when I eventually got, I bought 3 of and went back to base, adding it to the damaged armor I had from the chamber fight. Alongside that, after taking a lot of time, I remembered the craft for the armor stand. I decided it would look pretty cool in the attic, so I put 2 up there. One for my first ever set of iron armor, alongside my first ever set of diamond. I know, sentimental of me. But the real reason those 2 are going to be up there is because of the trimmed armor we get throughout this video. Speaking of that, I duplicated the flow armor trim because we're going to get a set of gear for that as well. Starting off the next couple of days, I need more diamonds for this armor trim stuff, so we're going back into the mines. I grabbed ores like redstone, lapis, iron, of course diamonds, but another reason I'm here is for the XP once again. So I took my hoe and got myself to level 35 pretty easily until I spotted an ancient city. I don't know how I haven't run into this thing yet, but I guess we better check it out. I snuck around and broke some of the shriekers, leading to my first ever chest, granting me my 4th god apple. I honestly don't know what's better. Now that they've made god apples even more accessible, is it better to hunt down ancient cities or trial chambers? Probably ancient cities because you can actually find them in specific biomes. Anyway, I'm getting sidetracked. I continued looking for more loot until I stumbled upon 2 more chests, and holy cow, that's a lot of shrieker things. What am I meant to do here? I gave up and just let them tick me with darkness, and I still got nothing good out of it, but what were you realistically? Are you gonna go mine 100 different pieces of wool just to cover those up? Or are you gonna take it like a man? Some chests were freer than others, but the god apple hunt wasn't sprouting much fruit. I mostly had to settle for like regen pots, armor trims, or XP bottles. I figured I would give myself at least one more attempt at one of the double areas just to see if I get anything from the million shulkers guarding a chest. I was wrong and had to just run for my life. I decided that was enough ancient city and just went back to mining Skulk for 41 levels. Now that we're back up on surface, I really wanted to mine the ores that we had just gotten with fortune, because obviously that can double or triple our profit. However, when using my levels, what I thought was going to be wisely, I enchanted another pickaxe with silk, efficiency, and unbreaking. I already have that type of pickaxe, so I decided to do it again, getting another silk, efficiency, and unbreaking, making 3 of the exact same pickaxes in my inventory. What is going on? All I really wanted was fortune. Please, just let me get it. What the heck, game? I am down to my last chance. If I don't get it here, I gotta go back into the mines. Thankfully, it gave me the perfect combo for a fortune pickaxe to combine with my already unbreaking 3-1. I was able to place down my ores like my redstone, lapis, gold, iron, diamonds, and considering I had 39, I was hoping we'd get a lot from this. By the end of mining through every layer, I was rocking with 79 diamonds, 3+ stacks of redstone, 2+ stacks of lapis, 44 iron, and 37 gold. Not bad, but apparently this entire video I've just been a diamond fiend, which makes sense because of these stupid armor trims costing so much. But I also decided to make an auto crafter. I mean, yeah, this is technically in the game and you can use it for a lot of stuff. My first thought was like an iron farm. So when I tested it out, I made some iron blocks out of it, and sure enough, it worked really well. However, setting up an iron farm just takes a really long time, so I doubt I'll probably use this in these 100 days. But one thing I can use in these 100 days is the new dogs. For some reason, y'all voted for armadillo. I don't even remember the results. At one point, there was like a penguin. I think that was years ago. Anyway, there's like an armadillo that has these scoots now, so we're gonna go look for a dog, and then we're gonna go look for armadillos, and we're gonna put armor on that dog. However, when I went to go look for like the new dog, I just found a regular old wolf. I mean, like, yeah, you're cool, but after like 13 years, I think I'm good. I really want to see what other dogs look like, so I decided on day 41 and 42, we're going out on an adventure. Traveling over the ocean, I spotted a village in the distance. Of course, I stole and pillaged everything, murdering their men, women, and children, of the cow variety at least. But after taking what was rightfully mine, I settled over the horizon to see an acacia biome, a perfect place to gather food while looking for armadillos. Lucky me, I found one right away, actually. I really thought you could get scoots a little bit easier than the brush strategy, which I found out later. So I was like trying to right click it or like shear it with my axe. It didn't really work. Unfortunately, we do need the brush, so I headed into a nearby cave, mined some copper, smelted it up, went back outside, and spam clicked the heck out of an armadillo just for it to break after 4 hits. I'm gonna need a lot more brushes. Like 7 later, I got back to an armadillo and this time really spammed on this guy. I didn't know how many scoots I'd be needing, so I decided to craft up one of the dog armors, and turns out it's quite expensive. But I accidentally shift clicked it, and now I have a bunch in my inventory. Apparently they don't stack, which I still don't understand why not. Anyway, we're still looking for more dogs. I don't really know where they can spawn, but there was a nearby jungle, so I decided to check it out. This process was taking a lot longer than I thought, especially for the fact that like whenever I run through a taiga, there's always a dog there. I swear if it was gonna spawn in the jungle, it would have just been right there. Oh, look, a dog. I tamed 2 of them and had to take them home, clearly. We ran back all the way to the edge of the ocean when I realized the problem. 1 boat, 3 passengers. So I did one of the dogs dirty. I want one of you in the boat, and then I go in the boat, and then the other one, we gotta run. We gotta run. You're my favorite dog now. Yup, shake your head. I know you know it. I know you know it. You're my favorite dog. At base, I decided to put the dilly armor on them, and the fact that you can't dye it to a specific color is crazy. I mean, this dog looks cool, but now he looks like trash because of this armor. I forgot to start recording on the other day, which it wasn't too bad because all we're doing is trying to collect more blocks from the trial chamber. But when collecting blocks, I found another ominous trial block, which meant there was still a chance I could get a heavy core from our original trial chamber. I went back, grabbed a key, came back again, and got Bad Omen 3 diamonds and a banner. That's about it. We're still missing the core, but back to block collecting. Throughout these days, I grabbed a bunch of copper blocks again, an entire, I don't know, inventory of deep slate, even more granite, some pure stone was thrown in there, and finally andesite. The reason for all this gathering is because I'm making a new base outline for villagers. Yep, that's right, we're gonna make a steampunk style villager trading hall. I started by landscaping. Of course, we gotta have like a full-on plot for this base because it's gonna be massive. I tore away a lot of the dirt and stone. Basically, this entire hill is just gone now, but that's definitely necessary because the sheer size of this giant copper rectangle I just put in needs the space. And this is only the outline of the first floor. Yeah, we didn't get much done today. Day 46, we're really getting into working on this new build. I grabbed a bunch of copper and granite as the outline is going to be copper while the interior walls are going to be granite. I made sure to keep it textured by using regular granite as well as polished, and then decided it would be really cool to make a gear out of tough copper and copper trapdoors, leading all the way over to these lightning rods which connect it. I mean, I don't really know what this could possibly do, but at least it looks good. And then I heavy focused on the entrance of the building. I made an indented granite wall with stairs, slabs, walls, alongside lighting up the place with the new copper bulbs. Apparently, once you light these things, they'll never go out, or you can just like unlight them or something. I don't really know how I think you just like put a lever and then it lights up, and then you put a lever and then it doesn't light up, or I don't know. Copper bulbs look cool though. But that's really all I got done in that day, and based on the size of this place, it's gonna take a while to finish. I start the next segment of days off with chiseled deep slate trim around the outside of the build. However, I don't have the one accent piece I really wanted. Thus, I am back in the taiga gathering spruce. Yep, that's right, I needed spruce slabs as a trim above and below this deep slate block. I ran it around the entire base and it's looking pretty good. Then I filled in the top roof of the main floor with deep slate tiles. I probably should have textured this, but I don't think I ever do. That's when I started work on the outline of the upper section with blue copper. Wait, that is completely green. Why do I keep calling it blue? Doesn't matter. I filled in those walls with stairs and andesite variants. Taking a step back and just looking at the rectangle, it was missing something. So I had to make a copper trim outline, which when planning the build did not really fit. So it kind of cut into the outside of the build, but who cares? I'm just going to shove a copper trapdoor near the spruce and hope it works. Then I used a granite wall fence around the whole place. That way, if any of the villagers try to escape, they can't. I also really like that whole copper gear thing from before, so I detailed the second floor walls with two more, slightly smaller copper gears. And to end out my time, for once I'm making a slightly normal roof out of deep slate tile. I got most of it done for the night, but ran out of the block. But that's when I backed up to admire how the build was looking. I actually kind of like this. The steampunk style isn't too bad, and I think I'm pulling it off well. Day 50's real focus was finishing up that roof. I had to go back down and mine a bunch more deep slate for it though. And unfortunately, when I got back to surface, I realized that the roof was a bit too normal for me, even though I said I liked it earlier. So I made some indents in the roof on each side, 3 to be specific. 1 in the middle to make it look like a suburban home, but then 2 on the left and right of that so it looks like windows. I did that on both front and back sides, as well as finished off my day by texturing it with deep slate brick. Again, I probably should have been doing this on the roof of the first floor, but I never did. With the roof done, I needed to decorate the second level, so I added bevels to the outside, bulbs on top for light, and of course these new grate blocks in place of windows. It actually looks pretty good for such an interesting looking block. The next idea I had was a giant gear on the outside, looking like it's turning something from above. However, the hardest part of this whole thing were the fences. After I had the gear design in place, I wanted to wrap fences around it, so obviously it looks like some sort of conveyor belt, but I kind of misplaced them all, and it almost missed the top of the structure. After replacing it, it looked pretty good, and then I had copper as like the line around the actual gear to make it look like something was wrapping around, but I realized I probably should have added trapdoors to the fences as well. That would have made it look a lot more conveyor belt. Like, I don't know why I didn't do that actually. Anyway, the next thing I made was like a smoky chimney thing to expel some campfires to give it a more functional look, as if the factory's working. Well, it will be, it'll just be villagers. By the end of the day, I took a step back to see it from afar, and the top of it was way too dark, so I lit the heck up out of the attic, which did a decent job. Okay, day 53, we're dealing with the villagers because it's finally time for them to join me in this new factory. I went over to the village and stole all of their job blocks that I had been using to start training them over to my base. Let's just say clearing the mountain with the combined intellect of a squirrel following me was pretty difficult. Halfway through the day, these jokesters decided to just leave me. I don't even know what, they just turned around and went right back to their village. It was only like 5 minutes into the day that they did this. It was not nighttime yet. I honestly don't know what I did for them to just do this to me. I mean, maybe it was the intellect joke, but anyway, so I turned around with them and just stole all of their beds. The next day, I resumed the task of getting them over to my base. This time it worked a little bit better as I separated out the librarian and Fletcher villagers so that one was following me and then I'd break their block and then put down the other one and then it would like cycle. It was a lot easier this way. Anyway, in the factory, I put down all of the stuff that they should be needing, like their beds and job blocks. However, once again, by nighttime, they all just started to dip. This time, I didn't make a joke about their IQ, and they still headed back towards the village. I don't get how this villager AI stuff works, because this is BS. Get in a boat.
I own you.
Day 55 wasn't all too exciting, as I wanted to work on the floor of the factory, but I was out of the one block I wanted to use for it, spruce. Thus, I headed back over to the taiga and chopped down trees for the rest of the day. The next couple of days, we did a lot of work, which is why I grouped it all together. We're working on transforming the inside of the factory into a tried and true villager hall. I first got started on decoration. The idea is to make this place look like a factory. I added in random tubes, tanks, grates, everything that I would think is actually in a factory. Well, not that I've actually been in one, but I've seen TV before. Another area I wanted was a perfect section for the librarians. We have 3 of them already, so I figured we'll make it 4 long because I'm gonna be needing more books. It turned out looking okay, but again, we're not going for too much style in here. Another section I wanted to make was in this corner. Here, I hope to have villagers funneled up from being in a villager breeder below. This is where they'll wait to be assigned jobs and then work for me for the rest of their life. Another decoration thing is for the Fletchers. This little trapdoor section with this giant pipe going all the way up to the ceiling will store 4 Fletchers for instant emeralds. The final section that I made looked fairly normal this time, just a regular old section held up against this back wall, but I can put any villager type that I need, whether it's a cartographer, an armorer, blacksmith, anything can stick right here. Then I went ahead and changed out the floor and wasted an entire day getting spruce because I just used andesite and stone. My bad. I placed in all of the villagers and things were actually looking pretty good, kind of going alright even. However, the entrance needed a lot of work. Thus, giant furnace. I used deep slate to make a large column in the middle of the room, filled the inside with campfires, and decorated it a little bit to make whatever this thing is. The idea was to add another light source and break up the build a bit because there's so much copper in here. Now for the basement. This place is going to be the villager breeder that hopefully automatically pumps out children. I mean employees. Yeah, no, I got nothing. Anyway, it's a pretty simple build. I'm not gonna actually decorate too much down here. I cut away the stone, figured out where the farm was gonna go, put in some beds, made the tube to the upstairs, and then realized I didn't even have the villagers for this to work yet. So I went back upstairs, cleared out the Fletcher area, and made it a little bit bigger. Then I placed some beds inside and just got the villagers to work. To do more stuff with the farm, I needed soul sand, so I headed to the Nether to quickly find some. It wasn't too difficult, and when I got back, I now had to figure out the water situation. The idea is to lift villagers up a tube and into the factory. However, I spent way too long on this water part, just trying to figure out like how a mini villager would flow into said tube. I kind of was worried a lot on the fact that the villager would just get stuck in the one block when I didn't think that entity cramming would become an issue or anything. But eventually, after breaking into the walls and making the water turn a little bit, it worked. I think. It might. I don't know. I can't really test it out right now. Then I went to grab some kelp. I filled up the tube and, well, it shoots me out, so it should work fine. In that time, 2 more villagers were born, ready to be taken to the basement. Then I spent part of the night playing with wind charges, and other than that, trying to get the Fletchers back into their tube home. They really do not like it here. Day 62, I got fed up with this stupid big tree in my front yard, so I burned it. I mean, it didn't start a forest fire. It would have been kind of funny if it did, but I just burned it down. I'm not cutting this thing down. It's too big. I don't like it. Big trees suck. Oak trees should not have this variant. But the hall is finished, and it's looking great. Look at that. Look at my boy. I actually built that. Anyway, I'm a little proud. To end out the day, I traded with our new farming villagers to see if they would breed, but they aren't. They're kind of moving like they are, but I don't think it's working. So day 63, I stared at them for a bit, hoping for a new worker. Didn't happen. Thus, I went back to my happy place, spruce trees. Although the villager breeder isn't working, it looks like they're getting along quite well. A little too much, but still no baby. So I tried messing around with the beds to see if that helped, maybe adding another one, but still nothing. One of these days, I will learn how this works, and today might be that day, as I added 2 beds inside the breeder, and they finally had a kid. I got tired of running back and forth to the taiga as well, so I chopped down some regular spruce trees for saplings and made my own farm. I figure I'll be needing a lot of emeralds these days since the factory is up and running. Speaking of, I did my first trades finally, and then I threw some bread at this Squidward. However, my real task is I want to find another trial chamber, because one thing I still don't have is the mace. And at this point, the only way I know how to do that, other than get extremely lucky like I have throughout this video, is get a trial chamber map. But that requires me to get a cartographer villager. And while the villagers at my house had to grow up for a little while, I figure why not check the old village to see if there's one I could use. After getting back there and looking, I found a leather worker who just didn't care at all about the cartography table, and then when I went to go break his cauldrons, he was like, still gonna work. So I guess I'll just have to wait back in my place. That's what happened on day 66. After trading some more spruce for emeralds, I had a villager grow up and I made him into a cartographer. Leveling that villager up was a little bit more tricky than I had thought. I used some emeralds, but then I couldn't really get him any higher, so I had to go mine some sand for glass to continue leveling him. But finally, I got the map that I was looking for, which meant I can get to work on another trial chamber. This time, I'm ready with everything I have to get the heavy core. I followed the map to a nearby chamber. Inside, the first goal I have is to grab all of the loot before popping Bad Omen. That way I'm getting as much stuff as possible before getting into the real fights. Although I do still have 2 ominous keys from my past trials, so I was looking to use that. The first time I really only got Bad Omen out of one of the crates. Looking for more though, I ran into a new breeze room, which I hadn't seen yet. It activated not only the breeze trial, but also the new mob, the booger or whatever it's called. I don't get why we added another poison mob into the game, especially one that's a skeleton. It's a skeleton. It can shoot you from everywhere and it has aimbot. I don't understand what Mojang's doing, but they always have to ruin it somehow. I used my last ominous key for the time being and still didn't get the mace head. Hopes were getting pretty low for this item. I really don't know how to get farther than this. I think this is the only way, but I didn't realize it was this rare. So I continued traveling through the place, activating all of the trials that I could, with no luck at getting anything too crazy. The booger room was the worst though, as when I went in, I didn't realize I would be fighting every single poison mob alive. I may as well have been Frankenstein after this with how much poison was running through my freaking veins. Anyway, I discovered a new room with like a water fountain in the middle or something. It's kind of weird, but it did have like a spider and another booger trial, so I did those. All I've gotten from this so far was some extra diamond armor, tools, and lots of bad omen for some reason. But it's time to use it, and of course, I was in the worst room for it possible. Apparently, when you drink bad omen, there's an effect that can follow you around. When something dies, it spawns slimes. It's actually kind of good. It's better than finding a slime chunk, but it just spawns so many freaking slimes everywhere. Out of the entire room that I was in, I only got one ominous key. Okay, I was exaggerating a little bit. Maybe when leaving this room, things got even worse. I was rocking an axe during all of this fighting, while a booger trial, 2 different types of spider trials, and the new potion spawned hordes of silverfish on me. I was trapped in a corner for like 5 minutes just getting whacked. I'm loving the new trials, not gonna lie, but this is ridiculous. I'm gonna have to start making swords. Although it did lead to getting 3 more ominous keys back to back to back. I used my last normal trial key, getting absolutely nothing, but an ominous key finally, after what felt like years, gave me the heavy core. Yes, that's right. I finally have the mace head. And thankfully this is such an easy craft, I can do it in my quick inventory. So I did it right away, and it actually looks pretty good. I used one of the wind bursts to fly, and then one-shot a silverfish, which isn't hard to do, but looked pretty cool. Now that we have this item though, I am very happy. So I just continued throughout the place, looting whatever I could. There was still a chance, I mean it was really low, that I would get the Windburst enchantment, which is really cool, but it's now like the rarest item in the game. So after fighting every world war in some of these rooms, it just wasn't happening, which is fine because now I can go home and enchant the mace, which I did, getting density 4 with unbreaking, and then I added mending to it. I don't know what density does, but it looks cool. Now that we've done that, it's time for more villagers, specifically a brand new librarian. But in case I get a really good book, or at least the one that I want, I'm gonna need more emeralds, so stick trades. But most of the day was spent re-rolling. I wanted a mace enchant, either to max it out with density 5 or just a breach book. I ended up getting a density 4, which isn't bad, but I decided to test it out. Turns out it works really well on a horse. Kinda not sorry about that. But we're getting to like 70 plus days in here, so it's soon time to go to the end. And step 1 of that is blaze rods, which meant heading back to the nether and finding that fortress which I had seen but never actually went to. Anyway, before I got there was like a slight fall that I could easily have died from, so this was the perfect time to check out the mace, which one-shot that piglin. Absolutely amazing. I love this weapon. After farming blaze rods for a little bit, pearls were the only thing left to get. I mean, we have some, but I wanted to make sure I had a little bit more. I went to the warped biome to farm up easy endermen, but decided it would be a little bit easier to trade with piglins. So I sat here watching their feet, waiting for them to give me pearls before I killed them, and then headed back home. With the eyes, I've got pretty much everything that I needed, so I threw my first one and started heading towards the stronghold. Just like every other video ever, it was about 1,000 blocks away. When I found it, I got to the portal room and decided it would be stupid because I don't have like waystones in this mod, so I should build another portal. Thus, I can get back here even easier. Thankfully, this room is full of lava, so it was really easy to make, but I didn't have a flint and steel. So I ran around the stronghold for a little bit, grabbed some wood from one of the nearby rooms, and let the lava light it. It worked really fast, so I guess now I can come back here. Now that that's done though, I used one of the new features to head into the end. Yeah, you can actually pearl through portals now, which is really cool. But now that we're here in the end, there is something I plan to do, and that is kill the dragon without a totem, without an elytra, but with a mace. Yeah, I gotta somehow kill a dragon with a mace and not die to fall damage if I miss. It should be interesting. Look, my ideas are lacking in the planning department, so I kind of just built up with endstone. Although I should have checked the dragon's hitbox beforehand, because I have no idea where I'm supposed to hit this guy. But I did do what anyone should and put down water in case I fall and ruin the entire video. But eventually the dragon did decide to perch, so here was my chance. I jumped off the tower to see if I had the skill to first try it, and I missed. I caught the water and did no damage. So while I was down there, I decided to check the hitbox of the dragon, you know, just see how close I needed to be. I think I would have hit it if I didn't clutch on the water. Anyway, we went back up to test it again. Finally, it perched and I jumped. That should have worked. You're right, it should have, but you missed because you suck. So round 3, we're back up top and it perched. I jumped off and it flew away before I even got down here. What the heck, dude? But you know what they say, 4th try's the charm. After building up, I jumped off on round 4 and actually did hit the dragon, but it only did like half of its health, or a little bit less than half, because I had already hit the dragon with the bow to get it away from me. But hey, you know what? It is possible, which meant I spent the next 20 minutes trying to replicate what I had just done, and that's when I landed this hit. Yes! I finally did it! Get wrecked, nerd. Hey, my arrows. But yeah, we actually did it. After killing the dragon, I did the usual, steal its child, look at the property damage I caused to the entire dimension, and escape via a magic portal. Anyway, off to an end city. The first one I found was actually pretty massive, and it came with its own ship. I went inside, farmed up some shulkers, stole their riches, and made my way over to the ship. Inside, I found the prize of the world, the entire thing everyone works for in these videos. But why stop there? The shulkers hold a monopoly on this item, so I figured I'd get another one. So I stole from another ship. Yep, all the hard work your species did to get this, out the window. And since no one cares about a dragon head that does nothing, I decided to leave the end a happy man. Back at base, I used my levels to enchant and combine a brand new, fresh set of diamond armor. I wanted to use that on another armor trim, the flow trim. I stuck with the quartz design though for this because the white really looks good on diamond, and I have a sneaking suspicion it's also going to look great on netherite. I trimmed up this set of armor, and I actually can't believe it, they cooked with this update. This trim looks amazing as well. The bolt and the flow armor trims literally just instantly went into the top 3. I don't even understand how they did this, but this stuff was awesome. But to separate out the new armors, we're gonna have to make one of them netherite. Thus, we're going to the nether. But first, I wanted to max out the sharpness on my sword because I still hadn't done that for some reason. Anyway, into the nether we go, looking for this coveted ore. As you already know, I flew to a specific area that didn't have a lava lake underneath me, mined down to Y15, and started the process of going in one direction, not finding any Deborah, and then looking to my left and right. I found a decent amount in a good time frame. We are now up to 8 debris, but I'm out of luck on this tunnel, so I had to start the project over again. However, since you've seen this before, we'll just cut to all the netherite. After I had enough, specifically 29 Deborah, I put them to smelt while realizing I can't do any of them without a template. I'm still not used to this yet. But since I did this so late in the video, we've already gotten a Elytra, and it was pretty easy to find a bastion, specifically a treasure bastion. I killed a couple of the brutes, got the template and another ingot, as well as some gold. Once I was back at base, I made my sword, pickaxe, and axe into netherite, because you know, the big 3. Then I took off all my armor, converting that into netherite as well, making one of the sickest looking armors of all time. This trim really does look great on netherite, and the quartz makes it pop. And since it's been a few days since we've really been back at base, I went to check on the breeder, which is kind of working. I don't think it's automatically working though. I'm still throwing bread at them just in case. But we did have more villagers to work with, so I made them into Fletchers, filling out the tube decoration area. I really don't know what to call this place, but the 4 Fletcher system is now done. And I spent the rest of my night killing creepers because we're slowly running out of fireworks. Speaking of fireworks, I can't even use the gunpowder that I just got because I'm basically out of sugarcane. Thus, I used the last like 11 that I had to fly around the world and gather some. I really should not have broken that sugarcane farm I had earlier. But 3 stacks of fireworks later, we are in business. And I also made a new shulker box for them. I dyed it blue because normally I dye it red. Figured I'd be different for this video. But the real issue is how I'm gonna get more sugarcane and fast. This is gonna be the 3rd build of the video, an auto sugarcane farm. And I'm coming up with it now because I don't like to test my builds before I make them. So if I mess up, it's completely on me. I started by mining out part of the mountain where I'm going to be placing this thing. Then I outlined the build with copper, filled in both sides with granite, and in the middle we're going to use andesite and stone for the main sugarcane location. But when it comes to actually making the automatic part, I was out of a specific item. Most of this is going to require iron, thus mining trip. Now that we're back to work on the actual farm, I have no idea what I'm doing. Like I said, all of this stuff is always off the cuff. So I put in the rails, which I hoped worked, but didn't because I clearly just made them fall off onto the chests if you look at the design at all. But I figured that out when I first placed in the carts. This was not going to work. Anyway, I redesigned it so that the mine carts would go back and forth, but they actually needed a full block instead of the trapdoor that I tested, the stairs that I tested, and the slabs that I tested. I was really trying to not make it a full block so that I could have the chest there instead of another hopper system, but whatever, it's fine. After that round of testing took the entire day, it was time to place in the sugarcane. This is about halfway done. Now I need the pistons. I made all of the pistons in the world and set up the redstone with an observer, so technically this should work. It just needs light light, a roof, and a lot more design. Maybe now we're halfway. But I can't actually get to that specifically because I went back to the villager hall and all of my villagers were zombified. I neglected them, I think. Oops, my bad. Turns out that doorway should have actually had a, door, but start a clock, because as far as I'm concerned, I have about 5 minutes to figure out how to cure them before they despawn. So first things first, to stall the timer, I went to the nether and harvested nether wart, which I don't actually need for weakness potions, I just always think I do. Then I grabbed a brown mushroom from in here because it's a lot easier to get. After that, I headed down to a cave system to grab a spider eye. I also turned my render distance down to like 2 chunks, just in case I was loading in the villager chunk. And back at base, we finally pulled off the weakness potion. I turned it into splash, returned to the villagers, and unzombified them. They were fine, don't worry, the Fletchers are okay. But that's when I was able to get back to work on the roofing. I used deep slate tile on the outside and filled it in with the blue copper, because I think that's like the only other block I've used this entire video. By the time I had it like done, and basically the sugarcane farm should work on its own now, the villagers were zombified again. Look, okay, I didn't split them up, so they just ate each other after healing. And it's my fault, but I healed them again and split them up. At the very least, the trades are going to be a lot cheaper. Day 93, we have very few things left to do in this video, but I've sort of ignored part of this update. I mean, yeah, okay, the dogs are a big part, and we did go and see like the cool jungle dog or whatever, but I brushed it off because the crab and the penguin were infinitely better options. So I didn't really care about the wolf armor or the armadillo or any of the dogs, but at the very least, I wanted to go see the dogs that spawn in my favorite biome, the old growth taiga. Thankfully, we have one right next to our base, so I stalked it for a little while and no dogs spawned. I continued flying around the world to find a new old growth taiga and hope that stuff would spawn in, but it took forever. Eventually, I spotted 3 dogs, and they did look kind of cool. They're completely different than the other dogs, and I really do like them, but now I have to figure out a way to take them home, which is where I had an idea. I brought leads with me, and we were kind of on a mountainside, so I figure I'll jump off the mountain and hope that they fly with me. Somehow, this actually worked, and we are now 100 meters in the sky with 3 dogs floating behind us. The only reason this worked though is because I didn't use a firework right away and built up speed with them until I had to use one. But thankfully we did make it home all safe and sound, and now the 3 of them are gonna guard this house for the rest of their lives. But I'm not putting wolf armor on it. It sucks, okay? It looks disgusting. One of the last things I do want to do though is set up a warden killing trap. We missed the dragon a lot of times and then eventually did kill it with the mace, so I'm gonna call that one-shotting it. But now we just have to do it with the warden. So I found a spot in the mountain, mined all the way up to the top so we had a giant hole to jump through, and made a 3x3 stall for the warden at the bottom. Hopefully if I spawn one in, he'll follow me over this little trapdoor area and fall inside. Then I can go back up to the surface, jump down with a mace, and one-shot him. That plan will not work though if I jump down on him with only my normal hearts and no totem. So we're gonna go for a raid. Before I left, I made a bow just because, you know, they're useful, and then started flying halfway across the country or world or infinite world or flat earth, whatever you want to call Minecraft, to find a fresh, non-mountain-like village. Once I got to one, I trapped the villagers in any and everything that I could to keep them in houses, to keep them in certain fenced-in areas, just so that they were safe from the raiders. And that's when I started the raid, by drinking a Bad Omen 5 potion. Rounds 1 and 2 were super easy, especially with the bow. I was able to make quick work of them. The next round did have a Ravager, but that was still no match for the bow. I still haven't seen any totem bearers yet, but that changed the next round as I was able to shoot one off the bat. Then cornered myself in a cow pen, but we don't need to mention that, okay? But now that means we have a totem, which means the rest of the raid is going to go a lot easier. Or kind of easier. It just took a little while because of multiple Ravagers rushing me at once. By the end, I had a bell with 1 guy remaining on our last round, but it just never showed the guy. Apparently, when you click this bell, it's supposed to outline him in the glow effect, but it never did. I tried looking for him, but had no luck, and when I got back to the middle of the village, the raid bar just disappeared. I also didn't get Hero of the Village for this, but I did get 8 totems, so that's really all I was after. It didn't matter. I was just gonna fly home now. All right, we are on our last set of days for this video. Like I said, first things first, I had to fly all the way back home. And next, I have to figure out how I'm going to hit this warden one time and kill it. Obviously, I have to be super high in the air, so I built a dirt tower all the way up to height limit for jumping off of. Then I added water to the below area so that I'm not gonna die of fall damage, and healed up my armor with emerald trades while also trading for a name tag. We're gonna name tag the warden so he doesn't despawn, but what kind of name do we give him? You know, he's like this big buff guy who can almost one-tap anything, so I figure we'll name him Doug. With the Doug name tag in hand, I flew down to the deep dark to spawn the Warden. I made 3 different sounds, and on the 4th time, Doug was here. I name tagged him and flew the heck away because he was not getting in this hole for some reason. I really thought the trapdoor idea was gonna work, but he just ignored it completely. Anyway, I flew back down, slowly lowered him back into the hole, and flew the heck away. Now that Doug is in the killing chamber, all I have to do is hit the shot. We're already on day 99, so I have very little chances here. I got up to the very top of the dirt tower and jumped. I kind of missed, okay? Doug, I don't know what to do. I didn't plan for this situation. Please, don't hit me. What do I do? My brain kind of collapsed at this point, and I just started using up totem after totem, trying to figure out how the heck I'm going to get out of this hole. Eventually, I mined out and ran away from Doug, but this was a terrible show from my point of view. See, the thing is, I didn't plan for failure, and the only other time I've used this weapon was on the dragon, which, as you know, I missed a lot. Which meant, with the Warden, I was going to miss again, and then again, and then again, and I kept missing. I genuinely thought this was going to be a lot easier than it was, and I had never practiced for this hit. It took me till almost sunrise to realize that this is not working. At this point, let's just admit it, I suck with this mace. This is my last chance. All I had was 1 totem and a god apple. But again, I'm pretty sure I just missed, which meant I had to kill Doug. I didn't have the time to waste anymore, and I lost. I missed. I had to give up. I could not kill the Warden with the mace. Doug was dead, my friend who tried to kill me, and then everything else around him was gone. I failed on day 99. I couldn't complete the task. The mace was too hard to use, and I didn't have the time to learn. Unfortunately, 1.21 beat me. But I'm coming back to you, 1.21, and I'll master the mace in the meantime. But for now, if you guys did enjoy this video, do me a favor and hit that like button down below, as well as subscribe to the channel. You're already coming back anyway, so I would appreciate it if you help me hit 1 mil. And if this video somehow gets, I don't know, 50,000 likes, I'll start a hardcore series just to beat 1.21. Thanks for watching, see you in the next one, and peace out, everybody.